Okay, welcome to our webinar, How to Win the First Battle of Your Next Career. I'm Chris Kalenda, retired Army Colonel and founder of the Strategic Leaders Academy. Now, America's military, of course, has a very poor track record in first battles. The conventional wisdom that led to these initial problems and losses had to be overcome before the winning could begin. Now, I want your first battle for your next career to be successful right away so that you find a second career that you love. Now, we will help you shed some of the bad conventional wisdom that is likely to hold you back and to replace that with approaches that are more likely to help senior military leaders succeed in the private sector. Okay, rules of engagement, as always, please keep your microphones on mute. Pose any questions that you've got in the chat room. Our Chief Operations Officer, Nicole Kaus, is monitoring our chat room, and she's going to flag me when a question appears, and we will get after it. Now, if you are listening to this on a recording, you can write the question in the chat room or email it to me, and we'll get right back to you with an answer. All right, let's get going. In this webinar, you will gain a framework so that you can think strategically about your next career. You're going to learn ways to avoid wasting your time, talent, and energy in dead-end jobs or toxic cultures. You're going to stop being trapped in the resume interview rejection hamster wheel that so many of us find ourselves in. You're going to learn 5 key shifts that you can make right now that will set you up for success in your next career. You'll learn how to employ a highly targeted approach towards your next career that's based on your passions, your interests, and your talents. No more golden handcuffs in jobs that suck the life out of you. And you're going to learn ways to develop an authentic value proposition that helps you find the right prospects, fix your value to them, and finish your engagement with the best possible chances of success. And then you'll also learn about our online course that takes you in depth through all of these issues and many, many more. Okay, so to make sure that you're in the right place, this webinar is for current or former senior military leaders, those who have served 20+ years in the military. This is for leaders who are serious about making a positive impact in their second careers. And for leaders who want to find a second career that connects with their personal mission and vision. And finally, for leaders who are willing to invest in their own success. Now, this webinar is not for people looking for get-rich-quick schemes or arrogant people who think the world owes them something. This is not for people who are unwilling to invest in themselves, and is not for people who are unwilling to put in the time and effort to set themselves up for success. All right, so does this sound like you? I want a meaningful second career where I can continue making an impact. I want to continue to lead a life of significance. I am willing to invest in my own future so I can set myself up for success. And I am not satisfied with the focus on career tactics in the absence of a strategy that I hear so often in these transition programs. And I do not just want a job, I want to continue a fulfilling mission and vision in service to others. So type yes in the chat room if that sounds like you. Go ahead. All right, here they come. Yes, yes, yes. Great, you are in exactly the right place. So here's why you need this. Most veteran hiring programs are for young troopers and junior officers. They are not for you. They're not designed for you, and in many ways, they're not relevant for you. Many companies don't know what to do with senior military leaders, and we tend not to help them very much. Think about this as well. Companies take a much higher risk in hiring you. A bigger salary and a bigger role equals bigger risk of expensive fail if you are not a good fit. Did you know that losing you after a year or so is likely to cost your employer over $150,000 just to replace you. Now, of course, many of our predecessors have not exactly covered themselves in glory. And bad senior hires have a much larger impact on a company than bad junior hires. So you need to be armed with ways that you can help prospective employers see you as a low-risk, high-payoff hire who can add clear and compelling value to the organization. Okay, so we've got a question coming in the chat room. Okay, so Joe at Fort Bragg. I've got over 30 years of proven experience. Why would I be considered a high risk? Great question, Joe. So the first thing they're going to say is, proven to whom? Were you any good for 30 years? Or were you a George Patton wannabe? Were you somebody who was just simply climbing the corporate ladder, like kids going from freshman year to sophomore year? Are you toxic? How do I know that you'll fit in with my company? So proven to them is not compelling. Second, the cost of employee turnover is somewhere between 50% and 200% of the position's annual salary. So the cost of a toxic work environment is roughly $14,000 per affected employee. So let's say that you get hired at a salary of $200,000 and you supervise 10 people. After 1 year, you and your employer decide to part ways. That employer is going to incur a cost of somewhere between $200,000 and $400,000 just to replace you. Now, if you had a toxic work environment, then that's another $150,000 down the drain, not to mention the cost of turnover among your employees. So hiring you is a $500,000 bet. That's why the idea of proven military leadership experience is not relevant in the private sector. Thanks. Great question, Joe from Fort Bragg. Okay, here's a second set of reasons why you need this. Look, our service, our experiences, and incredible achievements are part of our identity and something that we should be very, very proud of. You have served with distinction at the very top of your profession. And let's face it, very few senior leaders go through a major career transition like you're doing now. In the private and nonprofit sectors, people change jobs and employers all the time, but rarely change professions wholesale. Imagine a surgeon wanting to become a manufacturing executive or commanding a tank battalion. Because you are so rare, many employers have difficulty processing the kind of value that you bring. So you need to help them see that you are much more than your uniform, much more than your medals, much more than your certificates, and much more than your coins and past accomplishments. You are not a, quote, thank you for your service, end quote, has been. You need to help them see that you are a wise investment, not because of your past, but because of the future and the value that you are going to bring to them. So this gets into exactly why you need a strategic approach to your second career. The tactics without strategy is just simply the noise before bad choices, ineffective approaches, and sucky jobs that drain the life out of you. And look, here's another news flash. A resume or LinkedIn profile doesn't land anyone into a high impact second career. Let me say that again. A resume or LinkedIn profile is not going to land you into a high impact second career, not by itself. And interview tricks often come across as insincere and won't get you anywhere. And please, please, please forget about the goofy efforts to try to translate commander into CEO or city manager. It doesn't convince anybody. It does you a personal disservice, and it can come across as really, really shady. With a strategic approach to your second career, you'll be able to do this. First of all, you're going to determine the kinds of roles that are best suited for you so you can bring the best possible version of yourself to work each day. You're going to be able to find a workplace culture that's consistent with your values so that you can avoid toxic environments or values mismatches. You're going to be able to orient on the vocation that best connects with your why. You're going to be able to target organizations and roles that are best suited for you and position yourself smartly so that companies know exactly how to employ you to your biggest impact. You're also going to learn how to get above the noise level so that you get noticed by the right prospects for the right reasons and avoid getting drowned out amongst thousands and thousands and thousands of other resumes. A strategic approach is going to help you negotiate effectively so that you can address common objections to hiring you and get the best possible salary and benefits for you and your family. So consider this. Would a 5-to-1 return on investment be a good investment? What do you think? Of course it would. It'd be a no-brainer. So how can you discuss your value to an employer in ways that your employer sees hiring you as paying for itself 5 times over? All right, so why listen to Chris Kalinda about any of this? Look, I am not an HR professional, and I never, ever want to be. But I've been in your shoes. I've been searching for a job. I've been spraying and praying my resumes all over the place, going through interviews, being told that I'm too expensive, that I lack experience, or, quote, we're moving in a new direction. Thank you for your service. Goodbye. Don't let the door hit you on the butt on the way out. So I have lived the resume interview rejection hamster wheel. In a chat box, if you have gone through this already, in a chat box, just type in hamster wheel or HW. There you go. HW, hamster wheel, hamster wheel. I've been there. You know it. So you should also listen to me because of these reasons. I have made every single mistake that I mentioned in this webinar and many, many more. So please let my long and painful road be your shortcut to success and to avoiding my expensive mistakes. Now, I have also been in their shoes, the employer's shoes. And like most sensible business owners, I am very, very selective about bringing people into my business because my name, my reputation, and my livelihood are attached to it. So I have rejected many very highly qualified people that I don't think are a good fit. I know the real world objections that you are likely to face and how to help you address them. And I've interviewed many former senior military leaders and helped them make smart career choices. I also know the time-tested process for getting the right attention from the right people and how you can apply it as you search for a second career. And finally, I've learned that you've got to know yourself beyond the military in order to find a second career that you love. Okay, so getting down to the specifics, we're going to talk about 5 key shifts that you need to make right now to begin winning the first battle of your next career. So first, we're going to talk about moving from a generalist to a specialist. People want clear and meaningful expertise. They don't want the utility infielder. Second, we're going to talk about moving from paycheck to vocation. So stop spinning your wheels on tactics. We're going to talk about a strategic approach that starts with your who, your how, and your why. Third, we are going to move from a focus on resume to a focus on AVP, authentic value proposition, because value trumps experience every single time. Fourth, we're going to talk about moving from spray and pray marketing to being like a sniper. a trained vocation hunting sniper. And fifth, we're going to move from imposter to expert. We're going to help you stop falling victim to the imposter syndrome and be able to turn common objections in your favor and negotiate a salary based on the value that you bring to the company. Now, once you make these shifts, you'll be able to avoid wasting time on tactics that don't matter. You'll have a clear value proposition that resonates in the private sector. And you'll be very intentional in your search. You'll be much more like a sniper finding its target than a panicky soldier spraying a death blossom of resumes and LinkedIn please. You're also going to come to the attention of the right prospective employers and avoid the wrong ones. And finally, you're going to give yourself the best possible chance of getting into a second career that you love right away. All right, so let's get into these shifts. Shift number one, move from generalist to specialist. So who do you look for when you need open heart surgery? Do you want the general practitioner or do you want the cardiologist? Now, I don't know about you, but I'm putting my money on the heart surgeon every single time. Now, look, here's why this shift is so important. The military values the generalist, the jack of all trades, the purpose who can go into any environment, any job position, and contribute right away. The private sector, on the other hand, values the specialist, the expert who offers clear and compelling value and a highly probable return on investment. So when they need to fix hearts, they look for the heart surgeon, not the family practice doctor. So we have got to stop positioning ourselves as the family practice doctor and more about the expert and specialist. So let's position ourselves as somebody with clear and compelling value so that you come to the attention of the right people for the right reasons. So this is a huge change in mindset. We're going to stop positioning ourselves as generalists and start positioning ourselves as specialists with clear and compelling expertise. Okay, so we've got another question. All right, Liz from Colorado. How do I position myself as a specialist in business when I've never been in business? Great question. So the key is to see yourself from their perspective. They need to see that hiring you is going to pay for itself several times over. And this is going to be the exact focus of our online course. So once you narrow down your vocation, which we'll discuss next, and select the right prospects, then you're going to look at their pain points, their needs and challenges, and match the outcomes that you've achieved towards them. And towards the end of this webinar, we're going to discuss some ways that you can think about this that are going to be compelling to a prospective employer. Thank you so much, Liz, for a great question. All right, shift number two, move from paycheck to vocation. So we're going to stop spinning our wheels on tactics. A strategic approach is going to start with your who, your how, and your why. So we need to ditch the bad advice that is wasting your time and energy. Resumes, interview tactics, how to dress, how not to dress. Go to these hiring conventions and those conferences. No, wait. Go to those conferences and these hiring conventions. Put your resume on LinkedIn, on Instagram. Translate your military jobs into civilian speak, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's exhausting and it's a complete waste of your time and energy. And it's not getting you any closer to a second career that you love. So let's take a deep breath. We're going to start with your how you are hardwired, or who you are hardwired as a leader. And this is going to help you orient on the right roles and opportunities for you. Next, we're going to talk about your how, the values and principles that are most important to you and the workplace culture that is most in sync with your values and your principles. So this is going to help you avoid the wrong companies and focus on the right ones. Third is your why. Your why is what drives you, your purpose, your passion, your sense of ownership. And this is going to help you find a vocation that inspires you the most. Now, your life situation, of course, plays a role too. Do you need a steady income right away, or do you have time to set conditions? Are you entrepreneurial, or do you want to be in a big business? Do you prefer to be in a structure or more independent? Do you want to work an 80-hour week for the next 20 years? Or do you want to be in control of your time, your talent, and your energy? Now, you also have considerations such as family, spirituality, hobbies, community service, finances, etc. But when you start to think about vocation and looking at your who, your how, and your why, you're going to be able to position yourself to find that second career that really stirs those passions so it doesn't feel like work. All right, shift number 3 is we're going to help you move from resume to AVP. Your authentic value proposition is far more important than your resume if you are a senior military leader. So look, nobody who you want to work with is going to hire you based on your resume or your experience. Translating your military job into civilian speak often comes across as goofy and potentially inauthentic. And think about it this way. Imagine if a CEO of a company who wanted to join the Department of Defense scratched out Chief Executive Officer and put in Commanding General or Brigade Commander. How would you feel about that? So 30 years of military experience or, quote, proven, unquote, leadership experience is meaningless in the private sector. Proven in what sense? Were you any good, or did you just climb the ladder? How do we really know? In the private sector, the unsuccessful talk about their experience. The average tout their credentials, but the highest paid focus on value to the employer. So let me say that again. The unsuccessful talk about their experience. The average tout their credentials. The highest paid focus on value, their value to the employer. And that's the mindset that we need. In our online course, we're going to work on ways to communicate the outcomes that you have achieved in the military into language that is compelling into the private sector. For instance, employee turnover is a major drain on revenues for any business. Better employee retention equals lower costs, which equals more available revenues. So you see, it's not just about the job, it's about the impact that you can have. So how were your reenlistment rates as a leader? How well did your subordinates gain promotions and selections? These are the kinds of things that you can use that begin to show your potential value to an employer. So more on this later. The bottom line is that with the right value proposition in the right hands, you could write your resume in crayon and still get hired. Shift number 4 is we're going to stop spraying and praying, stop the spray and pray marketing, and be the trained sniper instead. All right, so spray and pray marketing, just vomiting your resume on every social media and job site available, guarantees that your resume finds a place in the C file rather than in the C suite. Think instead about the sniper. They search their target. They look for patterns. They find the right way to position themselves for the shot. And then they engage the target with the best possible chance of success. So once you have your value proposition, you can begin to target the prospects that need the value that you offer. So you're going to research companies that meet your criterion, ones that need what you have to offer, even if they don't have a job opening posted just yet. So think about it this way. If a person is likely to help me cut employee turnover costs by $1 million, a $250,000 investment is a bargain. Okay, another question coming in the chat box. All right, Jim from Minot. I get all sorts of LinkedIn likes about my resume and some headhunters have contacted me. Am I on the right track? You might be, Jim, but beware of vanity metrics. So who is the one that's doing the liking? If it's not a buyer or hiring official from your target prospects, then it probably doesn't matter. So here's one of my very painful and expensive mistakes that I'll share with you in hopes that you'll avoid it. So when I was early beginning of my business, I took out a bunch of Facebook ads about a trip to Normandy. And the Facebook ad had a video. It was an awesome video. And I was getting hundreds of thousands of likes. And I kept putting more and more money into the ads because I was getting so many likes. This was rocking. At some point, this is going to pay off. Somebody's going to sign up for a trip to Normandy. And after nearly 300,000 likes and $10,000 spent, not a single person signed up. I was getting all sorts of likes, but not from the right prospects. So headhunters can be helpful to you, but just know that they're interested in filling seats, not necessarily with the success of those fills. So oftentimes you are a resume that they're trying to match with a requisition. They're not going to necessarily help you find a vocation and a organizational culture that's right for you. So in this hamster wheel, you often become a commodity, one person among many with a certain set of skills. And the incentive in this case for the employers is to get the commodity at the lowest possible cost. So this is why focusing on value is so much more important than focusing on skills or experiences. Once people see you as having unique and compelling value that returns the investment to them, you're in a driver's seat in the negotiations. Okay, shift number 5 is from imposter to expert. Stop falling victim to the imposter syndrome. We're going to work with you to turn common objections in your favor and negotiate a salary based on the value you bring to the company. Look, we all face it. Imposter syndrome. Maybe we can't make it in a private sector. Maybe what worked for me in the military just won't work anywhere else. But when we go in with that approach, we tend to devalue ourselves because we feel it's our duty to take low pay until we can prove beyond a reasonable shadow of a doubt that we are worth more. And this mentality is going to guarantee that you get far less pay for the value that you provide. Now, you're going to face common objections designed to create self-doubt. This gives your prospective employer a way out of hiring you. And if you do get hired, it gives them major leverage over salary and benefits discussions. So for instance, think about it this way. If you're an airline pilot on your first flight for a particular airline, do the passengers pay a lower rate for their seat? No, of course not. Do the flight attendants get paid more just because you're new to that airline? No. Then why should the new pilot with that airline get paid substantially less than a pilot that's been with the airline for a longer period of time? So we're going to help you examine common objections and ways to address them successfully so you maintain as much leverage as possible. We'll also discuss ways that you can frame your value to the organization in ways that provide you with the leverage in the salary and benefits discussion. So here's a key tip. After you take our course, you're going to know exactly what to do when somebody asks you about your weaknesses and how to avoid that trap and turn it into conditions that set you up for success. So if you felt imposter syndrome as you were thinking about transition, type imposter in the chat box. There we go. Imposter, 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 imposter. Yes, I've been there. We have all been there. All right, we got a question coming up in the chat room. All right, Lisa from Tampa, great question. Do women tend to have imposter syndrome more than men? And what do we do about it? I'm not sure if this is the case or not. Some research suggests that women do experience imposter syndrome more than men. I also wonder if men just simply tend to hide it better under bluster. So look, imposter syndrome affects all of us, and it's even worse when you're changing professions like all of us are doing or have had to do. So the key is to focus on the value that you can bring. Successful companies hire high trust people who have average or better skills. Training skills is far better than training trust. And you've got the trust, and you've got the leadership, you've got the ability to have employees engaged and to bring out their best. You've got all of that in spades. Great question. Thank you very much, Lisa from Tampa. Okay, so get this wrong, and you're going to stay stuck in the resume interview rejection hamster wheel. You're going to have a higher risk of settling for a sucky job. Get this wrong, and you'll have regret that your second career is not having the fulfilling sense of mission and impact that you desire. Get this wrong, and you're going to and you are going to have outcomes that may negatively affect your relationships, your quality of life, etc. Get this right, on the other hand, and you're going to have a second vocation that you love. You're going to enjoy sustainable success. You're going to make much more doing what you love, and you're going to love doing it. You're going to have a happier personal and professional life and more energy at work and at home. And you know what? You're also going to be an ambassador for the Army and for the private sector, showing that former senior military leaders can make a difference in any part of the private sector. Bonus point. Here are some ways to talk about your value. We discussed this a little bit earlier. So please do not try to translate military job into civilian job. It's too hokey. Instead, translate your outcomes that you have achieved into language that addresses the business challenges your target is facing. So here are a few examples. According to Gallup, 67% of Americans report being unengaged at work. So how well were your reenlistment rates? Did you tend to retain people in the Army? Did you have high rates of employee engagement, or did you have low ones? 70% of managers, or of employees, according to Gallup, leave their boss. When they leave their company voluntarily, they do so to get away from their boss. How well do you develop leaders? And have those leaders been successful? Can you show that? And if you can show that you can help leaders be successful, that you're retaining good employees, then you can very easily translate that into ways that you can help reduce the biggest costs that employers face, which is employee absenteeism, turnover, and toxic environments. Another report suggests that 89% of people who leave their jobs voluntarily within the first 18 months leave it because there was a bad culture fit. So what kind of cultures did you create in your organizations? What were the outcomes of those cultures in terms of performance and impact? According to Kaplan and Norton's book, Balanced Scorecard, 90% of business strategies, are not executed successfully. So how were you able to improve execution? What was the impact of your organization? Is this something you specialize in? So look, here's the key. You have to go to your employer's bus stop. You've got to talk their language, engage in issues that are important to them, and in language in ways that is compelling to them. You have got to show how you can provide value that is compelling from their point of view. Okay, so I've mentioned our course a couple times. Here's what we are going to cover in the course, which is called Win the First Battle of Your Next Career. First, we're going to discuss how to use your who, your how, and your why to select the right vocation and roles, create an authentic value proposition that resonates with the right prospects. We're also going to go over how to determine the kinds of workplace culture that work for you and which ones do not, so that you avoid companies that you might find toxic or that you might find annoying. We'll also work on how to position yourself with your target industries and roles so that you come to the attention of the right people for the right reasons. You are going to be relevant to them, not just one resume among many. Next, we're going to help you handle common objections that you're going to find during the selection process so that you avoid scaring away your prospects and you set the right boundaries and conditions on your employment. And finally, we're going to help you negotiate your salaries and benefits, or think through how to negotiate your salary and benefits more effectively so that you can maximize your earning and maximize your value and benefits. Okay, so here's what we covered in the webinar. We talked about some major challenges to a great second career. We discussed why a strategic approach is critical. We also talked about the benefits of going strategic. We discussed the 5 key shifts that you need to make right now to begin to position yourself for success. And we also offered a bonus shift that helps you begin to think about ways that you can articulate your value to a prospective employer. And we also discussed a bit about our online course, Win the First Battle of Your Next Career. Correction, for your next career. Now, this online course is not, I say again, is not for you if you are lazy, uncoachable, or unwilling to put in the time and effort. It is not for you if you are arrogant and entitled, thinking that people owe you a job. And it is not for schemers looking for great get-rich-quick tactics. And frankly, it's not for people who are already set. If you know exactly what you want to do and have that second career locked up, there's no reason for you to take this course. Now, this course is for you. This course is for you if you want a second career of significance, a mission and vision in service to others. It is for you if you are serious about making a positive impact on a mission or cause that's important to you. And it is for you if you're willing to invest in yourself and your success, and if you are tired of bad tactics and bad advice that don't help you as a senior military leader. So why invest $297 for this course? Well, let me ask you this. Who is more likely to dedicate time and energy to get the most value from a course? Somebody who invested $297 of their hard-earned money, or someone who paid nothing? I mean, after all, how important is it for you to find the right fit for your second career? And in the private sector, you just simply get what you pay for. How important is it for you to give yourself the best possible chance of success? How much more will you make when you can overcome objections and negotiate effectively for far better pay and benefits? So by enrolling in this course, you get an online course that takes you step by step through a process of finding your drive and motivation so that you are highly intentional about your second career. We'll go through your who, your how, and your why, so you find that, use those as drivers to find your second career. We're going to work together to develop an authentic value proposition so that you can communicate the value that you bring to the workplace. You are going to define your ideal workplace culture so that you find the right options and avoid toxic environments. You are also going to go through a step-by-step process of smart positioning. You're going to be like the sniper, stalking the proper targets rather than a panicky spray and pray marketing death blossom. You are also going to learn how to handle common objections so you give an employer confidence in hiring you. And you are going to learn how to negotiate effectively so that you get the best possible salary and benefits. And through this entire process, as long as you are enrolled in the course, you're going to have unlimited email contact with me for questions, to go over your worksheets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, you also get a 100% satisfaction guarantee. If you have completed all of the work and the worksheets and find no value in this course, we'll refund every single penny of your money. So here are your next steps. Go to strategicleadersacademy.com, select courses, and then select this course, Win the First Battle for Your Next Career. We are going to begin publishing the course modules in January, adding new modules every week or so. The first 2 modules are already up. Now, our first enrollment is limited to 20 people. And those 20 get the entry rate of $197. That's a $100 savings off the regular price. If you have any questions at all about this, you may email me at chris@strategicleadersacademy.com. That's chris@strategicleadersacademy.com. Okay, I am going to pause a few seconds for questions. I see some coming in the chat box. Steve from Camp Lejeune. How do I know you won't just take my money and run? All right, that's a fair question, Steve. Look, I'm a public figure and I'm very easy to find. I'm also, more importantly, a professional. My business rides on my reputation and referrals. And I am so confident that you're going to love this course, that you are going to get value, and it's going to pay for itself many, many, many times over, that I'm willing to give you the 100% money back guarantee. If you go through all the work, you don't like the course, you don't think it's got value for you, I will refund every single penny. Thank you, Steve from Camp Lejeune. Okay, Bob from Colorado Springs. Do you guarantee job placement? If not, why should I take your course? Well, look, Bob, we don't guarantee job placement. If you want a job placement service, we are not the right fit, and this course is not the right fit. This course gives you the best possible chance of success in finding a second career that meets your passions and your interests, because you're first going to go through a process of defining those passions and those interests, your who, your how, and your why. We're going to give you the tools to find the right prospects, fix their attention on you so that you can close the right outcome for you and your family. Thank you. Great question, Bob. And finally, Jose from San Antonio, what are the biggest challenges facing senior military leaders in the workforce? Okay, great, Jose. Super question. There are a number of them. First of all, expressing their value instead of their experience. I mean, we tend to say, we've had this experience, we've commanded this, we've done this, et cetera, and not expressing our value in ways that are compelling to private sector employers. Next, many former senior military leaders have difficulty finding a vocation that meets their passions and interests. So they simply do the spray and pray marketing of their resume, the death blossom marketing. It doesn't go well because they're not coming to the attention of the right people. And then suddenly they settle. They hit the easy button. They go to the defense industry. They go to government. For some people, that's the right answer. For others, it's not. And you know what? Everybody, or you and everybody around you, is going to know if you find that job to be soul-sucking. Another challenge that senior military leaders have is you got to do things on your own. You don't have a staff to support you, and you'd be amazed at how much time and energy all of that takes. They also have a challenge building a relevant network based on your passions and interests. I mean, let's face it, most of our network, whether it's on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and other social media, are national security audiences. They are military-centric audiences. And if you're looking for a vocation that is in a different sector altogether, then that network is not necessarily the one that's going to help you find that job. So in the course, we're going to help you get into that network much more effectively and come to the right attention of the right people. And of course, we're going to help you address all of these challenges and many, many more that senior military leaders face. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope this has given you some useful tips on taking a strategic approach to your next career. So here are your next steps. Go to strategicleadersacademy.com, select courses, select this course, Win the First Battle of Your Next Career. The first 20 people, the enrollment is limited to 20 right now. Those first 20 get $100 off the list price. You will get this course for $197. So hopefully that even if whether you take the course or not, you have found some useful tips and ideas and approaches in this webinar. That's our most important concern, that this webinar has helped you think more strategically about your next career. And if you've loved what you heard and you want to go even deeper, then our course is available to you. Thank you very much, and best of luck as you transition to your next career.